You are the hands, the feet, the body of God in this world. How are you showing up this morning? You're looking pretty good, actually, from my vantage point. So with this precious gift, with these hands, with these feet, with this body, what are you going to build? What are you going to create? I just came down off the mountain. It's really not why I'm dressed this way. Where I spent time with Reverend Edwene Gaines, who is the prosperity kind of guru of unity. And her message to us was very clear. If you are not growing, you're dying. If you are not building, you're tearing down. What are you doing? How are you on purpose? What are you doing with this precious gift of life that you've been given? And so today, I want you to think about your life as being under construction. I'm dressed as though I'm walking into a construction zone because it's true. We are under construction constantly. You know, even when you're not aware, your body is constantly under construction. It is eliminating the things that it doesn't need. And your cells are dividing and multiplying and regenerating. You get a new body about every couple of days. So your body is constantly under construction. So I've come to believe that if you're not under construction, you're probably on your way under. So today, what are you going to choose? What are you going to choose to build with your life? So one of my favorite construction stories comes from the Book of Nehemiah in the Bible. And probably it's one of my favorite stories because I participate in the Nehemiah retreat every year. I have come to understand that Nehemiah is a story about bold, courageous action. It is also a story about peace, passion, and prosperity. Who couldn't use a little more of that in their lives, right? Nehemiah is the story of us. So listen and see if you can find the parts that are like you. So the book of Nehemiah takes place when the children of Israel are captive in Babylon. Now, it's not unusual for the children of Israel to be captive. You know, bless their hearts, everybody likes to pick on those Israelites. And everybody's always, bossing them around. And just about the time the Israelites get all their territory back together and they get all their stuff together and they're feeling like life's just moving right along, bam, something happens. Somebody invades them, they lose everything they've got to start all over again. How many of us often feel like we're just trucking along? Life's pretty good. I got everything I need. I'm prosperous and abundant. And then, dang it, my battery won't start. Or I'm going along and, that tooth. And all of a sudden I have to have some kind of dental procedure. Or I'm going along, and all of the pipes in my house are backed up. And all of a sudden, that peace that we had, that confidence that we had, that feeling we had that everything was going so well, where did it just go? Out the window, right? So like the children of Israel, we too experience experience things that capture our attention. Just like the children of Israel, there are things that happen to us that disturb our peace. Now, what was different this time was that this time when the children of Israel were captured, their holy city was decimated. The city of Jerusalem, where they went for all of their religious festivals, that had their temple, where they met God, had been decimated. The gates of the city had been burned down. And the walls that once protected them were now just rubble on the ground. How many of us know that feeling when we've reached the bottom and there's no place to go? So the children of Israel were in despair and they were despondent. And by all practical measures, they appeared to be dying. How often do we realize that we too die a little bit every day? I shared on Good Friday that I found a book on my shelf. There was another one of those books that I don't know where it came from or how I got it, called When Did You Die by Temple Hayes. So this is the current minister's read. And in that she talks about how each of us are dying every day because we get so caught up in everything going on out there. We get so busy earning a living, paying bills, keeping appointments, answering all those posts on Facebook, liking them because we don't want to offend anybody, that we are dying to the things that we are passionate about. That we are dying to the things that bring us peace, to the things that light us up. And she describes what that feels like. She writes, you know you're dying a bit every day if you are feeling disconnected and drained rather than energized and impassioned by your life. When there's no energy, when there's no passion. I would add, when you are filled with anxiety, exhaustion, overwhelmed, instead of peace and passion. And one of the things that Edwene talked to us about is that you cannot prosper if you are not passionate. That doing the things that we love, giving time and attention to the things that we are passionate about, brings to us prosperity. It's what prospers us when we are doing that which brings us joy. So the Israelites found themselves in much that same place. They had lost their passion. They had lost their love. And they were waiting to see what was going to happen next. So we're going to pause our story for a minute to take a commercial break for Unity Principles. So Unity's third principle tells us that we co-create our experiences through the thoughts we think and the feelings that we hold. So think about Jerusalem and the children of Israel. The gates have burnt down, the walls have crumbled. How did that speak to where their thoughts and their feelings were? How did that speak to their level of consciousness? I would venture to say that one of the things that's characteristic about the Israelites is they like to brag about being God's chosen people. And they like to hold on to the past, the glory days. You know, when they were the people, when they had all the land, when they were prosperous. And they held on to the past until the gates of the future burned down. Another characteristic of the children of Israel is when things went really well for them, they got really complacent. They figured somebody else would do it. Somebody else would make the plan. Somebody else would take care of the business. God would rescue them if they got in a fix. So they really just kind of rested on their laurels. And in their complacency, the walls of the city came tumbling down. Take a deep breath and consider for a moment how the physical building of Unity Fort Wayne Spiritual Center reflects our collective consciousness. For those of you who haven't noticed, on Easter morning, just before Easter, our deck outside the sanctuary collapsed. You see, it was rotted from lack of use and lack of care. And it fell down. How does that speak to the things that we have neglected as a spiritual community? How does that speak to the things that we have held on to from the past and we've been unwilling to let go of? In the 2 years I have been here, I can tell you that almost every month I hear about the glory days of Gregory Geis. Now you have to know I love Gregory. He and I have been friends for quite some time. I also hear about the conflict that arose when Rev Mary was here. And I even still hear stories about how Barry Bernard rescued Unity of Fort Wayne Spiritual Center and set them back on the path again. Wonderful people, wonderful stories. But how is the past keeping us from moving forward? How is holding on to the way it used to be at Unity keeping us from embracing how Unity Fort Wayne is right now? Keeping us from envisioning a future that is different, that is alive, that we are passionate about, because we're too busy looking back. How does our physical building reflect our own complacency? You know, waiting for someone else to make the coffee. Waiting for someone else to give a little bit more so we can put new flooring downstairs. Waiting for somebody else to be an usher. Waiting for someone else to step up and be a part of. How is our physical surroundings a reflection of our own complacency? And how are we willing to change it? How are we willing to build something different? See, it would have been easy for the children of Israelite to just let things keep being the way they were. Woe is them. But there was one among them. There was one among them that was bold and courageous. There was one among them who knew that Jerusalem could be restored. And his name was Nehemiah. Now, Nehemiah was a Jewish servant that held a very important position in the royal court. You see, he served as cupbearer to the king, which didn't mean just that he ran around bringing cups. No. The cupbearer was important because the cupbearer sampled everything that before it passed to the king's lips. The food, the wine, everything. You could say that Nehemiah risked his life every day for the king, because the purpose of the cupbearer was to make sure that the king's enemies didn't knock him off by poisoning him. So Nehemiah held within him the power to destroy the king if he chose. But Nehemiah was a faithful servant. He knew what his purpose was, and he was willing to do it. Nehemiah had not given up. Nehemiah had not become complacent, and he certainly wasn't looking at the past. Nehemiah held a vision that things could be better for the children of Israel. And so he prayed. The book says he prayed fervently for an answer to do something. And the answer came. Rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Now, there were a couple of problems with that idea. For one, Nehemiah was a servant. So he didn't have a lot of money. He didn't have money to go out and buy all the supplies that were needed to rebuild the wall. He also didn't have anybody else to help him, and he certainly couldn't do it by himself. And he was a servant in Babylon, a little fur piece from Jerusalem. And yet, he knew that through God, all things are possible. He knew the truth of who he was. He knew that he was a powerful, prosperous child of God. And so, mustering all the courage that he could, he went before the king. And he laid out his plan. And much to everyone's surprise, the king said, "Sure, that's a great idea." Not only that, the king was so moved by Nehemiah's passion, by Nehemiah's love for his people and the city of Jerusalem, that he said, "You know what? I'm going to give you all the supplies you need. And I'm going to send an army with you so that you have protection while you gather the people up to work on restoring the wall." Unity theologian Elizabeth Sand Turner describes this part of the story as proof that when the time is right, God prepares the way. And as I thought about that, I thought about 2 years ago, right after I got here, when we made the decision to pay off the mortgage. Now, that wasn't a new thought. People like Orville, who's not with us today, Ron Bonar, had held that vision for quite some time that eventually we would pay off the mortgage. But it just never quite happened until collectively we decided that it was possible. Until collectively we of Unity Fort Wayne Spiritual Center stepped into the power of who we are and saw ourselves as a prosperous people. And as soon as we aligned, much to the amazement of some, we raised $20,000, over $20,000 in just a few weeks. Yeah. That people said couldn't be done. We did it. And the people of Jerusalem, the Israelites, also had the same success. Nehemiah 4:6. tells us, "So we rebuilt the wall, and all the wall was joined together to half its height, for the people had a mind to work." Now, that last phrase is really important for us to understand. The people had a mind to work. Edwene Gaines talked to us about, when people come to us and say, "Oh, I've been praying that prosperity prayer. I've been using those affirmations. I've been doing this and I've been doing that. I've been doing everything you said, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed." And she said to us, there's a simple solution to that problem. The solution is that we haven't changed our minds. You see, we will get everything that we desire. Everything we ask for will be ours when we are ready to receive. We have to change our mind. We have to have a mind to work. Peace, the peace that Jerusalem represents, is ours when we choose a peaceful mind. Passion is ours when we choose to have passion in our thoughts. We prosper when we think prosperous thoughts. Peace, passion, prosperity is a choice that we make with where we put our focus, where we put our time, where we put our attention. Because where we put our time, attention, and our focus is where we're going to prosper. And we can prosper chaos like Babylon. We can prosper confusion like Babylon just as easily as we can prosper peace, as we can prosper joy, as we can prosper love. According to our mind and according to the action, the work that we take. In October, several of us will be traveling from here to Unity Village, and we'll be participating in the Nehemiah retreat. So we will spend a week using our time, our energy, and our resources to restore the grounds of Unity Village. Why do we spend our vacation time working, painting, hammering, raking? Because we love unity. We love unity. We love unity principles. And we love unity people. And each of us has a deep commitment to preserve that legacy for others. You see, Unity Village, to those of us that are going, is our Jerusalem. It's our holy city. It is sacred ground. Now, I can't speak to the mind of anyone here this morning, but I know that for most of you, Unity Fort Wayne Spiritual Center is also holy ground. This place is sacred. Some of us have been married here. Some of us have found comfort here. Some of us have been raised up to more of who we were meant to be because of Unity Fort Wayne Spiritual Center. And my friends, we too have a home where the gates haven't been burned down, but they're loose at the hinges. The walls may not be crumbling, but the paint is peeling. The ceilings are cracked, and the decks are falling down. Our Nehemiah project begins now. Now. This is our spiritual home. And we have to have, each and every one of us has to have a mind to work. We have to have a mind to work. And the promise is that with every nail that is put into place, with every paintbrush stroke, with every check that buys a load of wood, a box of nails, or a gallon of paint, with every minute that you spend in prayer, in conscious visioning of a new, restored building and grounds, I promise you, you too will be restored. You see, anytime we give all that we have, that anytime that we give our time, anytime we give our resources, anytime we give from a consciousness of love, we can't help but be restored. What I know about us is that we are children of a living, loving God. And that our divine inheritance is passion, peace, and prosperity. That it's ours. All we have to do is be willing to ask and to take bold, courageous action. It's not enough to just think about, oh, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we could remodel that bathroom downstairs? Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had some pretty flowers out front? It's good to hold those things in your mind, but the people of Israel had a mind to work. You have to be willing to take action, bold, courageous action, each and every one of us. And surely, in that action, our peace will be restored. Our passion will be restored. And we, personally and collectively, will prosper. Let the construction begin. Namaste.